Yeah.
All right. We are officially recording. Welcome, Gabby, to the Art of Human podcast. For everybody listening, I'm your host, Christian Rodriguez. Gabby, so how about you tell me and the listeners just like a bit more context with regard to who you are, like as a human being, but however you want to describe yourself.
Oh God, I would describe myself as a very emotional being. I am driven by my emotions, and I can try really hard to act as logically as I can, but like I'm just like a very emotional, like things move me. I don't know if you can see that picture behind me, but for example, like art moves
Yeah.
me. Earlier before we started the podcast, we were talking about music. And as soon as you said like really chill music and you turned it up, I was like, oh my God, I need to find out who this artist is. I like to stare at beautiful things. I like to meet beautiful people. I feel like that's why I chose the profession that I chose, because like we get to talk about something so beautiful with individuals, which is nutrition. And not only do we talk to them about nutrition, we talk to them about their behavior, their lives, stress, physical activity. And so I'm driven by emotion. It's gotten me in trouble a few times, but I'm not sorry about it.
Yeah, I think I read your LinkedIn profile and it was saying, like, I read your bio and it was like, the key words that are coming to my mind are altruistic, gregarious. That's like a word I had to look up. Gregarious. It says something like social. You're a sociable person.
Yeah,
And then those are like the two words that are coming to my mind.
right. Which is which is like interacting with people and helping people.
Okay. Um, you want to keep going more about you? I want to keep learning more about you.
Sure.
Like how, I don't know, how old are you? I know I've been kind of, for a while, I've shied away from asking people how old are you because I feel like that's always been this thing about like, oh, don't ask people their age. But I feel like it's kind of relevant in the sense that it could kind of give you a better picture. You know what I'm saying? Like
Okay, so
it's just a number.
okay, so I want you to I'm curious to see how old you think I am,
How
just by
old do
the
I think
energy
you
I
are?
yeah, by the energy I put out on LinkedIn and Instagram.
25 to 27.
That is way too accurate. Why?
Dude, I'm pretty good with age. I'm telling you. Like I'm telling you, I'm pretty good with it. You're
Okay.
26. You're 26.
No, you saw it on my
No,
Instagram.
I promise.
Yeah.
I swear to you, I didn't. Like, if I did, it was subconsciously because I swear I just guessed based on everything that I've observed.
Do you have like psychic medium powers?
I think everybody does, honestly. It's not even really psychic. It's just our brain is just super intelligent.
I
I'm
think
being
you're pretty
serious.
intelligent. I think you're pretty intelligent.
Thank you. Thank you. All right. Well, I guess now we know your age, and I didn't even you didn't even have to tell us. um, I don't know. Tell us more about your day to day. Do you have like a dog? Do you like what's your routine on the day to day basis?
Oh my God. So my day-to-day basis is go to work 8 hours a day and study for the RD exam, and then
Mm.
dabble in some gym time and some self-care. But right now I wish I had more time to cultivate creativity. That is something that I really want to work on as soon as I pass that exam, is to just cultivate more of the creative side of life, which I haven't been doing because all I've been focused on is education, my education, my education, my
Mm.
education.
So what do you mean? Like, do you feel like right now because you have such a heavy workload that you don't have that much creativity like coming out of you? Or like what do you mean by that?
So yeah, like everything is about using everything I've learned for 6 years, which is like bachelor's and master's. And I'm like, okay, like I stopped, I'm still learning things on the job, but I'm like, I am ready for something different. I feel like I already met my professional goals in that sense. I really want to get, I really want to just do things that are more kind of like that picture behind me. I
Mm.
also have like a quote from the Dalai Lama.
What does it
Uh,
say? I mean, you
It
don't have to read the
says,
whole thing, but
no, but it's just, I'm just going to walk
oh
by it.
yeah, go ahead, go ahead.
Yeah, so it says that the purpose of life is to contribute to other people's happiness.
That's what it says, like just in a brief summary, pretty much.
Yeah,
Okay.
basically.
Dude, the Dalai Lama's fucking dope. Like, I barely like started looking into him maybe like a year or two ago because my brother like mentioned him in one of his songs. Like he'd say Dalai Lama, and I was like, man, like who the hell is this guy? Because like I knew he was like some type of spiritual leader, but I
Uh-huh.
didn't really know like what was about him. And then like I've watched like a handful of like YouTube videos, and like he's a pretty cool guy.
Yeah, he said he's going to be the last one too.
Yeah, I think he was saying that he wasn't sure whether he wanted to reincarnate as a human or if he wanted to reincarnate as something else, right? Isn't that what he said?
Right.
So it's possible that there's another Dalai Lama, but it's also possible that there's not going to be. Isn't that where
Yeah,
it's at?
I don't know, but I'm interested. Like he's going to die in our lifetime.
Yeah, for sure.
So I wonder what that is going to look like, how that's going to look like.
I don't know. It'd be kind of cool if like he reincarnated into something else, because that'd be like kind of interesting. You know what I'm saying? Because it's been like what 13 or 14 Dalai Lamas.
He's the 14th, yeah.
Yeah, so if the 15th was like an animal, and if they were to find this animal, and if now like the new spiritual leader was an animal, that'd be kind of dope. I don't know.
It would be kind of dope, but what kind of animal would it be?
I'm thinking like a bird right now. I don't know why I'm visualizing like a bird. Like I don't know. I feel like a bird can like see everything from above. It's like majestic. It's like I don't know. I feel like a bird would be really cool because it could like see things, and it could like you know what I'm saying. Like it can travel. It can travel, and it's like elegant. I don't know.
And it
What do
can
you?
see
What kind of animal
everything.
do you think? What kind of animal do you think?
What kind of animal would he be?
He's a pretty peaceful guy, so maybe he. I don't know.
No, I feel like a bird would be like a pretty accurate because, elegant, flying, traveling around the world, seeing everything from a bird's eye view, literally
Yeah.
coming down. He can escape this world if he wants to, because this world is it's a cruel world. It really is. He can just
Hmm.
escape and go away.
So why do you say it's a cruel world?
Oh God, it's life is a stressful experience for
Huh.
everybody. We all experience life differently, but everyone has stressors. The way I see life, it's like a theater,
Huh.
and we're always trying to find happiness. People are never satisfied.
Hmm. Do you
No,
feel like
never.
that about? Do you feel like that about your life? You're never satisfied?
No, I'm trying. I mean, no, but I see it with
Okay.
other people. I mean, with everything that's been going on in 2020, and I mean, and you'd think that 2021 was going to be much better. It's like, no, everything is like just.
So are you more of a pessimistic perspective kind of person? Or like like I don't know, because there's like I'm just trying to I talked to another girl on the
Uh-huh.
podcast, and she was like, not that she was like a pessimistic person. Like I know that you're not a pessimistic person. Like I feel the positive vibes, but I'm just curious if you're like the type of person who like who is like very conscious of the negativity and almost kind of like studies that, if that makes sense.
Now that you word it like that, I would say because I am aware of the amount of negativity, I make it my mission to bring out as much positive energy as I can. I am a people pleaser, and I would say that people would describe me. I had a friend once tell me, he was like, Gabby, like you're the type of friend that makes me feel like I have a safe space with you.
Hmm.
And I really try to allow people to like make them feel heard, even if like their issue, like to me it could be like, oh, like that's a little dramatic, but to them it's not.
Yeah, yeah.
To them it's very real, they feel it very deeply. So like whether I think it's traumatic or not, like I feel like I do put it on myself to please,
Hmm.
to
Okay.
always try to go the extra mile to make everything better, which
And
it
what
can be a little exhausting for sure.
Yeah, like where do you find that balance between like helping, but also making sure that you aren't necessarily being drained to an extent where you actually feel like, you're going down too. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
Like, how do you find that balance for yourself?
Oh my gosh, Christians. Fun. Ugh, you okay, so I wrapped up 6 months of therapy in August. And it was because I was so preoccupied with making everyone around me happy that it was draining. And I went to therapy and they were like, have you ever heard of the word codependency? And so I did 6 months of therapy. And then at the very end of therapy, she was like, what are your goals now going forward so that you can work on and grow out of this? It's not like a mental illness like schizophrenia or depression. It's like a learned behavior. So what are you going to do so you can grow out of that? And I said, work on my boundaries, honor my boundaries so I'm not betraying myself.
Hmm. Okay, so are these boundaries that you just like wrote down and like you have them with you, or are these boundaries that you just kind of make up intuitively when like the moment shows up, or like?
I feel like I've always had those boundaries. For example, like like someone needs something and I'd be the first one to jump, even though I truly didn't want to. I just felt like it was like my duty.
Hmm.
But now it's like, you're betraying yourself.
Mm,
You need to honor your intuition, like your intuitive boundaries. You need
yeah.
to prioritize you for the first time ever.
Okay. So do you feel like pretty much like during that 6 months process, you're able to learn how to create your boundaries? Or like how was that process like those 6 months?
So those 6 months was so I'd say the first half was the therapist allowing me to see my place in with my interpersonal relationships. And then over time, she was just like dropping hints about the codependency. And
Mm,
in those 6 months, it was more about giving me, so for one, it was like learning about codependency, having clarity on what I wanted to do, and also give me the confidence to work on it as I was being weaned off of therapy.
oh, okay. That's super interesting. And I think I just had a conversation about therapy on the last podcast that I did.
Yeah.
And like I really feel that it's like a topic that I'm really glad that I'm talking about with more people, because it's like everything just kind of intensified really quickly, with the culture of like technology, social media. Like it went from like in the like the internet started in like 1994, 1995, something like that. And
We
like,
were, we were probably, two fetus.
yeah, like we were just like, yeah, like me and you, like our generation was born like right at the dawn of like the internet. And like
Right.
people who are being born like 2000 and after, like they're born into social media. And it's just like a very interesting time to be alive, because I feel like the dynamic of the human culture has like changed. And so like now we have to accommodate for this change, and we have to like accustom ourselves. We have to adapt to it. And how do you feel about this whole social media and the internet, and like how do you feel about that, with your perspective and stuff?
Well, I think that, I mean, sometimes I do have to take a break. It's necessary. I do have to kind of disappear for a week. I've done it for months. I probably am strong enough now that I don't have to do it for months, but I definitely have to. Again, it's the whole, do people like me? Do
Hmm.
people see what I'm about? Do they appreciate it? Is this person better than me because of what they put on social media? Um, but also with age and more inner work, I'm becoming more and more strong. Like I don't need to take those breaks as often,
I
but I
got you.
used to. I used to, yeah, absolutely. And I'm curious, like, how do you feel about it? I mean, you are on LinkedIn, always. One of the things that's why I contacted you. I'm like, this guy is so positive. He's always like spreading those good vibes, and he is so brave because social media, like, someone can take that the wrong way,
Hmm.
probably.
Take what the wrong
Personally,
way?
that's kind of weird. Or that's, unprofessional, whatever.
Oh, I got you.
Yeah, right. But I appreciate it so much. Like every
Yeah.
time we post something and you say something like good vibes, I'm like, that's what I need instead of just like good job.
I got you. Yes, I mean, I guess to build context for listeners, like I think what you're in reference to is like I post on LinkedIn, which is like I guess a professional platform, like quote unquote professional, not too much profanity or things like that. But for me, like because I'm actually, I think this is the thing that enables me to be vulnerable and to be myself on a platform like LinkedIn is the fact that I'm not really searching for anything. Like I'm not on there to try to get a job. I'm not on there to try to make a particular connection. Like I'm on there simply because I heard about like how positive of an impact it could have from. Do you know Gary Vaynerchuk? Gary V?
Yeah, who's that?
Ah, dude, you gotta look him up. But basically I got inspired to start posting on LinkedIn because of this guy Gary V. And I don't know, I just have fun, you know? Like and this is a whole work in progress. Like me being able to post on social media and like expose like a fairly honest version of myself and constantly trying to be honest when I put myself out there. It's like it's a work in progress because there was like a 3 year time span where I was like basically completely off of social media. And it's just kind of been like little baby steps. Like when I first came back on social media, it was just for the podcast page. So I would just kind of post stuff regarding the podcast and it wasn't too personal about myself. And then maybe after like 3 months of that, I was like, you know what? I'm going to make my own personal account for Instagram. And then I just kind of started dabbling a little bit more. And then, then I got into LinkedIn and it's just like, it's just little baby steps, you know? And I guess, like I said, I think the thing that enables me to be vulnerable on a platform like that is the sheer fact that I'm not actually looking for anything and I'm not like necessarily trying to like make a network. You know what I'm saying?
And I would say that I can see the connections that you have on LinkedIn, and there's just so much authenticity. Like a lot of the connections I have, well, I was kind of pushed by like the dietetics program to like start networking and stuff like that. A lot of it's just like, good job, excellent work, you know,
Yeah, I know what you're saying.
and I'm like, "Ugh, so phony. No
Yeah.
offense to anybody that's listening that I'm connected to on LinkedIn. You know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, yeah,
But
yeah.
with you, I feel like, like you are friends with a few dietetics professionals, but those people have so much substance with the interactions that you guys have. And I was attracted to that because life is short. I don't want to be professional 100% of
Yeah.
the time. I do have a question for you though. How did life look like those 3 years where you were just like,
Off of social media?
right?
What? Yeah, 2 to 3 years is probably about right. And it was like, I got rid of Instagram, I got rid of Facebook, and I got rid of. I think the only social media that I kind of held on to was Snapchat, but it was like very briefly. I'd kind of get on it, but basically, I remember one. It was like I had like an epiphany, or I kind of started to realize the effect that social media was having on my mental state. And I remember like I would go to sleep, and this was back when I was in college, like 2016, when I started to realize what it was causing me. But I remember going to sleep, and like as I'm falling asleep, or as I start to like daydream, like I start thinking about what other people are doing. I start like visualizing what other people are doing, and then I start comparing it to what I was doing, which was like going to bed early because I had practice in the morning, or like I wasn't being that sociable because I was on such a tight schedule, and I was thinking about what other people were doing, and it was like legitimately just causing like this stress in my brain, which was like at a very like kind of background level, so it never was like completely noticeable and I wasn't that mindful. But then for whatever reason, I started being more mindful about it, and I started recognizing that it wasn't really having a positive effect on me. And I started realizing that when I would go on social media was after a super long day of school, training, work. And like I remember parking in my garage, and I would just like open up Instagram and just like swipe, 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 swipe. You know what I'm saying? Like it's just very
Yeah,
un
mindlessly.
yeah, mindlessly swiping to get like that dopamine effect, or get that quick like that relief. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Yeah. And so I don't know. I realized that it wasn't doing anything really constructive for me at the time. And then I thought to myself, I was like, well, if I delete all these social media platforms, like I'm going to do something to stimulate myself still, but it'll be something different. Like maybe I'm going to start reading more books. Maybe I'm going to start reading more podcasts. Like, you know what I'm saying? If I delete it by default, I'm going to spend my time doing something else. And hopefully that something else will be more constructive. And then, so that was kind of like the premise of me, like starting to get off of social media or getting off of social media. And then those few years where honestly, I think getting off of social media was great for me. Like I really needed it, but it was still probably a really difficult time in my life. And now as I'm retrospecting on my life, like as a whole, my 24 years, I think that college was actually some of the toughest years for me because
Uh-huh.
like physically I was pounding myself, you know, training collegiately for cross country and track. I was neglecting my physical body and just kind of pushing my body and not listening to all my natural cues of like, yo, your fucking ankle hurts, like don't go run. You know what I'm saying? But I would just be so persistent and had this mentality of like working hard and like I gotta be diligent, like I gotta be on the grind and all this. Um, but getting off of social media was definitely like the beginning of me just becoming more mindful and just recognizing like just the kind of effects that media has on the brain and all that. But realistically, like I said, I was still super insecure, super had a lot of fear inside of me, which was obviously deriving from like when I was a little kid. So it was just a lot of shit. But I could say for sure that after I cut back on that, I did start feeling a bit better. But I didn't truly start getting like healthy until about November of like 2019. I guess now it's been over a year. But that's like when I truly like embarked on this like journey where it's like, no, like I'm gonna be fucking happy. Like it's not about the fucking job. It's not about me having to stick to this career path or me having to do XY thing. Like it's just like I'm gonna be happy. And I went to the fucking park. I rode my bike there. I sat down on a journal and like I wrote it. And I was like, yo, I'm quitting the job that I'm at starting like at the start of 2020. And like this is it. Like there's no more bullshit. You know what I'm saying? Like no more excuses. Like this is it. And then that's really when everything kind of started. So I know that's kind of extra, but
No, I relate to everything you just said. And I feel like a lot of people relate to what you just said. And also, like the decision to, with the middle finger in the air, I'm going to be happy and I'm not going to, I feel like you came back to social media stronger, a
yeah.
stronger person. You needed that break. It's kind of like I said, like I feel like I'm strong enough in which I don't have to take those breaks. But and I feel like you and I are on that same. Am I putting words in your mouth? What do you say that we're
No, yeah, I think definitely we can relate. I think a lot, most people can relate. Like you said, what I
yeah.
just said was probably relatable to a lot of people. My curiosity is, how long have you taken a break from social media? Like, have you taken like a actual break from it? Like, did you?
Yes,
Like, how long
yes.
was that?
It was probably a year, and it was like my senior year of college.
Of
It
your
was
bachelor's?
yes, and that is
Okay.
like the most stressful because you're applying to internships, you're taking the GRE, applying to grad school. I had a job at the hospital because I was like the type A perfect dietetic student. You know,
Yep.
you know how it is with us as a group. And I would it bothered me whenever my peers would post on social media that they were doing great and that they were getting awards, that they were getting scholarships, that their boyfriend was taking them out to. Um, I'm in Texas, so going out to Dallas or going to Houston, Austin, stuff like that. And at the time, I was coming out of like a pretty abusive relationship in which the man I was with did not even break up with me. He just disappeared.
Hmm.
So, and there was girls in my program that we were like competitive peers.
Okay.
Even if I unfollowed them on social media and try to hide things from them on social media, it was just kind of like, it was just better for me to just and
Just let go of it.
claim, yes, and just have privacy,
Yeah.
not give
That,
people too much information so they could talk.
I got you. Um, it's just kind of
It's
funny
just
because
too
you like
much. It's a
no,
lot.
it was just funny because you started whispering. I feel it though. um, How did you like get was it like after the 6 months of therapy that you got the confidence to like get back on social media? And like how did the approach with regard to social media change? Like the people that you followed, like you know what I'm saying? Like did you change the dynamic of how you use social media, or how did it change?
So I came back to social media so that was senior year whenever I took the year. And then I went to grad school and I was extremely busy, even more busy than I was in my bachelor's, but I was, um, how would I explain it? I noticed that on my Instagram, I would have a lot of dietetic students, um, follow me, and they would be like, how's grad school? How's the dietetic internship? And so I would always like post things on grad school and the dietetic internship, and they were also thankful. And then when I finished therapy, I finished therapy during the pandemic, with a bunch of dietitians and dietetic students pretty much started like creating their own businesses on Instagram. You know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, yeah.
Like a lot of people are now coaching or creating YouTube videos. A lot of people are because a lot of dietitians were furloughed during the pandemic. You know, we were deemed as non-essential. A lot of people were like, well, I'm not going to apply to another job. I'm just going to create my own thing. And so that's when I was like, you can create authentic connections on social media, like you and I. I've also met other people on social media. You can put yourself to work. And it doesn't have to be such a negative thing. You can be mindful of what you post, what you put out there, and the people you're connected to. Like my stuff right now is still private. It's not public. I have control of who follows me. And if I feel like someone's invading my space, I just remove them from my follow list.
I got you.
So, yeah.
No, and I think that's a powerful thing, like what you mentioned regarding like, being on private and like being able to like take someone out of your followers, like, because I think sometimes social media has a negative connotation. You know what I'm saying? Like there's a lot of connotations, whether it's positive, negative, but ultimately it's like everything just is what it is. Like
Mhm.
you could say that having this plastic water bottle is terrible because plastic is bad for the environment, but I could also just look at it as, it's just something to hold water and I'm drinking the water and it's hydrating me. You know what
Like
I'm saying?
imagine you, for example, imagine you're like a environmentalist hippie on social media and someone sees a picture of you drinking from a plastic water bottle. Now you like everybody unfollow Christian. He is, two-faced. Well, that's social media.
Yeah. And it's so strange. That's why I'm very gentle with the process of everything that I'm doing right now. In the terms
Mhm.
of like, I'm not necessarily like, if you go to my Instagram profile for the podcast or for my personal profile, like my personal profile, I literally have a red heart, and then I have like host to the art of human, and then you go to the art of human, it just says no rules. Let's just talk. DM to be a guest. Like, it's just like I'm just becoming a lot more minimalistic with myself because it's like I don't want to create this identity of a person that I am and then have to like adhere to these ideas. And like, but don't get me wrong, I really don't even think there's anything wrong with having an identity, especially if you have a service and you want to market it. Like, of course, you want to give context to what you're doing. But I just so happen to be in a early stage in my life where I'm not really monetizing off of what I'm doing. So I'm just, you know what I'm saying? Like I've always just been like a plain person. Like even my clothes, like I just like plain stuff. Like, and when I say plain, like immediately I kind of think of like boring, but it's more so that I like things to be more simple and plain because then it allows me to kind of create my own work out of it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like I recently in my room, I legit had a bunch of shit on my wall, like just different shit, like a quote here and like a picture there. And like I just took down a bunch of shit. And like right now I only have one picture. I have two posters on my wall. That's it. I used to have like 10 or 15 because I felt that my mind was kind of being bombarded by all these ideas. Not that they're bad ideas. It's just I like to project my own ideas. You know what I'm saying? Like there's a certain level of consumption and project. Like I need to consume, but I also need to create. And it's like finding that balance between consumption and then creation. It's like I feel like that's really important for happiness.
And that is something you said, the word gentle, and that is
Mhm.
like the energy that I um got from the Art of Human, because I have been listening to your podcast in which you're you're trying to be deep, but you're gentle, and you're just making about like the human experience and not trying to overcomplicate things. And I know you're not monetizing off of this. This is a thing that makes you happy, or you're just trying to make other people happy. And I love that so much. That is why I'm so hesitant to open up my Instagram and monetize something out of it, even though, I am educated in nutrition more than a lot of people are monetizing on the internet. Like I have a flipping master's degree in nutrition in dietetics research,
Yeah.
Um, I'm starting to be, I'm about to take my exam to be a dietitian. I have way more qualifications than a lot of people making money, but I'm like trying so hard to be mindful of what I want to do with social media, being present in social media. Money is not everything. Now that I'm employed, working as RD eligible, and I have a pretty good paycheck, I'm single, I don't have kids, so my money's for me. I'm like, wow, now that my bills are paid, and like it's not that important to have a lot of money, actually.
Yeah. Did you say you have kids or you don't have kids? Oh,
No.
okay. I thought you said I'm single and I have kids, and then you said
Oh, like I'm legally single. You have a boyfriend, but like
I got you.
no husband, no mortgage, no car payments. No children to look after. So everything the money that I have is, food, rent, stuff like that. Now that that's covered, I'm like, there's not much more that I need.
I got you, dude. And like
Fame,
regarding, huh?
fame, like I'd rather be helping, like contribute to the world rather than like make, you know, I'm sorry, like promise people a hot body on social media.
Yeah. And I think what you just said regarding like, you being like cautious about, or not cautious, but mindful regarding what you want to do with social media, like monetizing and things of that sort. Like I think that's the same way that I've felt about regarding like monetizing off of things, because it hasn't felt right yet. I don't think there's anything wrong with monetizing, but I think you have to like, if you want to be fucking happy, like I think it has to come from a real genuine place. And if you start to do things before it feels right, I think then that's when you can kind of put yourself in a position where you just keep digging yourself and imprisoning yourself in this idea. For instance, I've heard do you know Logic? He's a hip hop artist.
No, but I'm gonna write it down.
Okay. Well, I watch a lot of his content. Like I've heard interviews with him, and he's a rapper who talks a lot about peace, love, positivity. Like that's his whole motto. And
Uh-huh.
he says that he's talked to a lot of people in the industry, other artists, that like they have content that is appreciated by the masses and that has made them famous and that basically gives them a lot of money, but they're not actually happy because what they're saying is not so much what they want to say, it's just what they know will get people to listen to them. And their career started off of this disingenuous, it came from a disingenuous place, and they continued off of that because they started making money. And then now their whole platform is based on this kind of fake character that they've created. Not that there's anything wrong with the actual art of it, but it's just that person's suffering because they're not willing to let go of this identity, if that makes sense. You know what I'm
They're
saying?
not, yeah,
That's
they're
why I
not.
feel like it's so important to like, be real with yourself, be honest with yourself. Like, do you feel good about what you're doing? You know what I'm saying? Because if you keep going deeper into this place where you're not being genuine and you keep doing it because you're making money and kind of selfish reasons, then you're just gonna live a super unhappy life. And sure, you're gonna be making money. You could make a lot of money, but if you don't feel good about what you're doing, like, then what's the point?
He's not, yeah. It's like you have to be authentic if you want to be happy.
Yeah, and the thing is, to be authentic, I think it takes time, like to
Mhm.
realize like who you are and to be comfortable in your skin, and to find a peace of mind, because there's just so much stimulus. There's so many different ideas, whether it comes from books, whether it comes from religion, whether it comes from so many different things. What did your parents tell you? What do your friends do? Like, you know what I'm saying? There's so many different ideas, but it's like you have to come down to like, what is it that I feel? You know what I'm saying? Like, what feels genuine to me? Like that's why for me, like the whole idea of religion, like I mentioned this on one of the podcasts recently about like my parents, or I was raised in a Catholic household, you know?
Same
Like,
here. Are you Hispanic? Oh, I was your Hispanic, Christian Rodriguez. Yep.
yeah, I'm Hispanic. um, I grew up in a Catholic household, and like, but for whatever reason, like I never really felt this faith. You know what I'm saying? Like I went to church and all that, and there's a particular church here by my house that like I do like the vibe, I like the energy, but like the whole idea of it, I never really felt connected. It was kind of me just kind of doing it because it was the culture, you know, that I lived in. But I never really, really, really had faith. And then like nowadays, I like made up my own faith, like legitimately. Like, don't get me wrong, it's basically the same shit that they teach in all these different religions, like Buddhist, like you know what I'm saying? Like it's all the same thing, in my
All of it.
opinion.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just like it's all the same thing, but I kind of it came to fruition to me in a very natural way. Like it wasn't from someone telling me, "Hey, you should do this, you should do that." It was just like I spent time by myself, and I realized that if I wanted to be happy, I needed to have a big, big perspective of this whole like life. And then from me just learning about different perspectives, then naturally I kind of developed this faith. But it wasn't like something I just read from a singular book or something I heard from like one person. Like it's just, just time, you know?
It just came like it came from you
Yeah, exactly.
for you.
Yeah. How do you feel about faith? Like, I know you got the Dalai Lama thing behind you, so that kind of says
Sure.
something, but how do you feel about that?
So I'm just like you know, grew up, Hispanic, so like Catholicism, and I would describe my family more like culturally Catholic, but I'm an intellectual. Um, the Because I am in Texas, I'm very careful with how I present myself. I know you live in LA, and the cultures are very different. Depending on who I'm around, I'll say, I'm just like a secular Catholic, which is just like a non-religious Catholic. But whenever I feel like I'm with people who are very, very forward thinking, I'm just like, I'm just agnostic. Uh,
Okay.
I had a recent experience with psychedelics.
Okay.
And it made me realize that everything comes, like all the answers are from me to me. I used to believe in horoscopes, and I used to believe in like past lives and everyone has a soul and stuff like that. And then I was just like, these are just people on the internet trying to get money from you, just like churches. Gabby, you're intelligent. You can make your own decisions. You don't need anybody telling you how to feel or what to do. And that is my experience with religion or things like religion. Faith wise, you know, I worship the earth. I feel like, as yes, I'm becoming a dietitian, but like with my profession, we have the power to work with food systems. Um, like I don't consume a lot of animal products. I don't like to use plastic. Like here people would call me granola, but like I respect the earth so much. And I revere the earth. That to me, that is what I would call like my personal religion. One of my favorite pastimes is hiking. I live in West Texas, in which we have lots of beautiful hiking, despite the fact that it's like an ultra conservative place where we have beautiful, like amazing hiking. I went to Santa Fe, New Mexico for my birthday 2 weeks ago and hiked, even though a lot of national parks were closed because of the pandemic, and just like breathing the fresh air and looking up mountains. And I'm like, I don't know that God exists. I don't know. I've never died before, but this makes me believe that life is good. This right here.
Dude, like I definitely could resonate with what you're saying. And you know what's interesting is like this whole concept of God, we everyone you hear the phrase God everywhere. Like, we even say it just in the day to day, like, thank God. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's just a phrase that almost
God
everybody
forbid.
says. Huh?
God forbid.
Yeah, exactly. Like, we're always saying God, and I feel like the idea of God has so like when you say God, I feel like there's so much like idea behind it, like a white guy with a beard, and it's just super. It's like a white background. Like, that's one thing that I might see. I might see just like this aura in the sky, this like energy. But it's like I feel like God is it's a feeling, you know. Like, I think of it more of a feeling, like, because I could say, and not just with the word God, but just any word. You get 10 people and you say one word. Hey, what comes to your mind when I say this word, or what does this word mean to you? Everyone's gonna say something different. You know what I'm saying? So it's just like, that's the funny thing about the idea of God, I feel like, because it's such a personal thing. Like, but I think it comes down to a feeling, and I think, like, when you hear someone say, oh, like, thank God, or if someone's religious, and you could see that they have legitimate faith, like, it's like, oh, okay, like, I don't necessarily follow that exact doctrine that you follow, Catholicism, Christianity, Buddhism, whatever, but like, I know the feeling that you're talking about because I could see it in your face. I could see the I could see the gratitude in your face. I could see the happiness. Like, I know that feeling. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, like it's real to them.
Yeah.
No, and I truly believe it when people say, when religious people express that type of love, that, like, I love Jesus, Jesus loves me. Like, I feel like it's genuine from their heart. And there were so many times that growing up, I was like, I want to have that feeling, but it doesn't come out of me because it doesn't resonate with me. Um, you know, um, and then I became an adult and started traveling, hiking. That's when I found that feeling.
Yeah, it comes anywhere. Like, do you know who Wim Hof is?
No, all these names. You're gonna have to like just send me an email with all these people.
Ah, dude. Wim Hof is this guy from Amsterdam. He's probably like close to 60 now, 60 something. But like his the thing he worships, or not so much worships, but the thing that gives him life is the cold. Like, legitimately, like, coldness. Like, he at one point in his life, like, he was kind of young, like maybe in his late teens or like early 20s, and he just always wanted this like feeling, like what you just said, like that faith that you see people that have faith, like, fuck, like, I want to feel connected, I want to feel confident, I want to feel secure. Like, he was kind of in search of this, but like, he would read books, he would read about different religions, he would do all that, and none of it satisfied him. And then one day he was like in Amsterdam, and it's like snowing out there and stuff. And then he went walking by himself, and he was like next to this pond of freezing water. And then he just said, like, he kind of just like looked over his shoulders just to make sure that nobody was around. And he just got in the water. And then when he got in the water, like, pretty shortly after, like, he realized that that feeling, that sensation that he got from the freezing cold water, like, that was what he was looking for his whole life. Like, that was it right there.
Oh
And
my
like
God.
like coldness, or like that idea of like embracing super super cold conditions, like, that's his religion, that's his faith, like, that's, you know what I'm saying?
I know exactly what you're saying.
Yeah, because it's a feeling. Like, that's what he said. He's like, this is what I was searching for, like something that you can't read in books, something that you can't, like, that can't necessarily be described. Like, and I could to a certain level know what he's talking about, because I've kind of put myself in cold conditions, like, purposely, because learning from him. And it's crazy because when you could surrender yourself to the cold and not try to tense yourself and shiver, like, ah, like, if you actually relax, you naturally start breathing from your diaphragm, and you naturally start breathing like, but like, you're not actually tense though, you're completely relaxed. And so he actually noticed that he naturally started breathing like that. And when you start breathing heavily like that, you start to like super oxygenate your brain, and then your body kind of starts to tingle, and it's just a very unique experience. And if you submerge yourself in freezing cold water and you really just surrender yourself, you're gonna get to a point where you actually feel really relaxed in it. And because of the coldness, it consumes you so much that you basically shut off like certain parts of your brain, and then you go to that primitive part of yourself where it's just everything's based on feeling. Like I feel like it's almost the equivalent of just like being an animal. Like, you know what I'm saying? Where like you just see things, you just feel things, but you're not thinking. You're not
An
thinking about
instinct.
anything. Yeah, you're just you go back to the most primitive thing that you are, you know?
Yeah.
And I don't know, I just kind of went on
No,
that because
that's
it
so
excites me. Yeah.
interesting. Oh my God.
Do you gotta watch Wim Hofton?
I do. You're gonna have to send me an email with how do you spell his name?
It's just WIM, and
Uh-huh.
then Hof is just HOF, I believe.
Wow. And I could totally, because like, the feeling that you're talking about, I believe religious people that they feel. I believe them. I don't think it's something they're just saying. It's just not what I feel
Yeah,
with going to church and or like indoctrinating myself to, you know, whatever.
yeah.
And I've gone to different churches and stuff like that. Like one of my closest friends, he's a Mormon, and I would go to like their functions and stuff like that. And I was like, I believe this people. They truly feel this to their core. It's just, it's not
It's
me.
not for you. Yeah.
No, but I'm curious now that you mentioned that, like, what gives you that feeling?
Me that feeling?
Yeah.
Honestly, it's a combination of things. Like the coldness, like that thing has helped.
Mhm.
Like I've legitimately done it, and like I embrace the cold nowadays. Like there was the other day, like legitimately, I got off of work. It was a long day, and it was like pretty chilly, like California at least. You know, it was like in the low 50s. You know, and it was pretty windy. And I legit got off of work. I just took my shirt off, put the windows down, and I'm driving like 70, 80 on the freeway with like my music, cold air just flowing through, and I was just like loving it, like just embracing the sound and all that. And so surrendering myself, you could say, to extreme conditions. Not, I mean, obviously that's contextual, like the idea of extreme, but like surrendering myself to what I would perceive as cold conditions and just letting my body do its natural thing, breathing from the diaphragm. Stuff like that has definitely helped. There was definitely like in the last 14 months, there was like a 3 or 4 month period where I was super invested into breathing, or that was like my real focus. And that's kind of the way I would explain it. Like in the past 14 months, I get super inspired to do a particular thing, like to work on my breathing. And then eventually it's kind of weird. Like eventually I let go of it and it just kind of comes up spontaneously. So nowadays I'm not necessarily consciously, oh, I'm going to do my breathing today. I naturally start doing it. I did it just earlier when I was going to the store. Like I was getting a little bit anxious. So I just work on my breathing. Like,
Right.
you know what I'm saying? Like you can just actually intensify your breathing. And like, you know, I've built enough body awareness to where I could feel my core and my diaphragm and like my nose, and like I can just intensify the breathing. So I guess that's another place to go, is like I've just created a lot more body awareness. Like in this last year and a half, like I don't do things to do them for a particular like ambition. Like it's become to the point where it's like it's a feeling. Like if I'm gonna go roll like on my roller, I'm not rolling because I want to be better at something. I'm rolling because I feel my back has a pinch, and I'm going to lay it on that area, and I'm going to relax into it. Like it's never about trying, you know what I'm saying? Like don't get me wrong, I'm not perfect. So there's certain
Of
occasions where I catch
course.
myself being needy about it, like, oh no, like I need to get better, like right now. But this is actually like a super recent revelation, like just as of a few days ago, which has really helped. But it's just like this idea of being needy. Like, do I really need to like right now when I was setting up the podcast, do I really need to try to carry a bunch of fucking things down here all to be more quote unquote efficient? Or let me just grab the laptop and then bring that down because that's what I feel inspired to do. I bring it down here. Oh, okay, now I can go get that. And then I go back up to my room. I get the lights and I get like the microphone. Okay, I'm gonna come back down. And then okay, like now let me go get the cables. Like what I'm trying to get at without overcomplicating it is like just doing what you feel you need at the moment, like not trying to be extra efficient, not trying to be extra productive. Like because think about it, the only reason you ever procrastinate is because you genuinely don't need to do that thing right now. Like people,
Exactly.
yeah, like
Uh-huh.
people think they're lazy because they don't do their homework until the last minute, but it's like, yo, they gave you 2 weeks to do it. Like you didn't need to do it those whole 2 weeks. So of course you're gonna wait until the last day because then you need to do it so you naturally get the inspiration. And a lot of people say like, yo, like I do my shit last minute and I make like amazing work. You know what I'm saying? Like when you actually just start doing things because you need it and not because you're being needy about it, like I need to be the best athlete or I need to be the best this or I need to be this or that. Like when you let go of all that bullshit and you genuinely just do what you feel like doing, even though it doesn't consciously or logically make sense, like you start to build genuine awareness. And like that's what I'm learning about myself. Like maybe subconsciously I made like 4 or 5 trips to set up this whole podcast because I wanted to run up the fucking stairs, because I legitimately ran up it and I ran down and did all that. And maybe I have a lot of energy that I needed to exert. So subconsciously my brain knew that, so it said let's bring it down in like 5 different trips. Consciously you could be like, oh well, it doesn't make sense because you could have been more efficient, you could have got like a tray or something and brought everything at once. But that's the thing, like going back to that whole primitive thing, what I was saying about going in that cold ice, like when you forget about the conscious thoughts, like you're invested in your feelings. And if you truly are invested to live a happy life, then you have to acknowledge your feelings and pursue them, because that's where happiness stems from. And the only thing you ever actually have is right now. Like tomorrow, your worries about tomorrow, your worries about what happened yesterday, or the hate, or all these things that you might have, like it's just gonna hinder you from genuinely being happy. You know what I'm saying? That's
You know,
kind
and
of where my faith comes from.
oh yeah, and I feel like everything you just talked about goes back to even like where I started the conversation with like boundaries and codependency. Like, I hope you believe me when I say that this conversation has left me with even more perspective on like what I want to do as I focus on my personal growth goals compared, now that I've completed all my professional ones. Like, yeah, like talking with you has been awesome. Like, look at my smile.
I'm glad it's had that effect. How are you doing on time? I don't know what your day is like.
Oh no, I just have
You're
to
doing
study for
good?
the, I just have to like, before I go to bed, I always study for the RD exam because I'm gonna take it in a month.
In a month?
Yeah.
Okay. What? You're like 2 hours ahead over there?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's 5:58 over there?
Hmm.
Okay. Do you want to talk a little bit about nutrition?
Sure. We can talk a little bit about nutrition.
Okay, because I know, I mean, for whoever may listen to this, like, I think nutrition is something that I kind of haven't been invested too much into in the last year, but recently I've been getting more into it because one of my best friends has been getting really into nutrition. And because of the pandemic and the virus and all that, I think there's probably people who are interested to know about immune system and what you can do about it and things like that. So I guess, like, I don't know, how do you feel about, like, what can somebody do during the pandemic right now to like optimize their health
Sure.
with using nutrition?
So, I do work in healthcare, and with the pandemic, I mean, I've seen people die. Before I took this job, I was in Tulsa, and I was doing tube feeds for people that were dying. These people had lower immune systems, compared to the rest of the population. Some did have diabetes. Some did have like some type of pre-existing condition. Some of them actually didn't. And you know what lowers your immune system besides a poor diet? Stress. So if people want to be healthy during the pandemic, they need to prioritize getting sunlight. Vitamin D, it is, it strengthens your immune system, your mood, all the things. Um, Even if they're eating one vegetable or one fruit per day, you're providing your body with antioxidants are going to increase your immunity response to disease. And again, taking care of yourself, managing your stress. I know with the lockdown and everything, in Texas, where, people are anti-maskers and stuff like that. Life hasn't actually changed much outside of healthcare. Like the hospitals aren't locked down and stuff like that, in the nursing homes, but people still go to the grocery store without mask on and touch things in the gym and the bowling alley. But I know that people are affected in other states where like the pandemic has actually locked down for things for them to do. Like people can't go to parks. Like I went to New Mexico, everything, even national parks are closed. It's hard. Just finding a way to manage stress. Stress lowers your immune system. It does.
I love that. And I love that like you're a nutrition professional, yet like the biggest thing you're advocating for is lowering stress. And I think that's the thing that that's the reason I've kind of or haven't been too interested in going too deep into like the little nuances of nutrition, because it's like the majority of the population doesn't need like the most technical advice. Like people just need to realize like the most basic stuff. Like, you know what I'm saying? Because it's like you have your immune system. Let's just say hypothetical. Your
Yeah.
immune system's at a 70%. Okay, you could focus on like the itty bitty details of nutrition. And you know what? If you're inspired to do that and that's what you feel inspired to do, like let's go for it. You know what I'm saying? Like I'll teach you what I can. But if you're not that inspired to learn about those little technicalities, like it's just like what you said, like the most simple stuff, like just work on your stress, like just increase your fruit intake by one. You know what I'm
By
saying?
one,
Like by
just
one.
one.
Like keep it simple.
Right. You don't need to be eating kale 3 times a day.
Hmm. How do you feel regarding vitamin D? Because that's like something that I feel like is. I know you just mentioned the whole vitamin D synthesis from the sun. Do you know
Yes.
exactly what vitamin D does for your immune system? Like, how does it help the immune system? Because I know it works alongside calcium, and it helps to have like healthy bones. But how does vitamin D help with
Yes.
the immune system?
So the exact mechanism of action, I'm not completely sure, just because like a lot of the literature I read, just because like I do work with tube feeds and I work with tube feeds and people in nursing homes. I actually have 3 jobs with my company. So I'm a acute care clinical dietitian doing tube feeds. I am also work at another hospital as acute care, but I don't do tube feeds. I just do education, and I also work in a nursing home taking care of residents. So a lot of the things I read are vitamin D, vitamin C, and zinc. And these are the ones that help your heighten it, strengthen your immune system. I have read that so the happy hormone, which is the happy hormone. Gabby, do you know this? You know this, the happy hormone. So, and serotonin. So, um, it is, you need to have vitamin D for certain hormones to be released that do contribute to your mental health. Again, I'm not exactly sure the mechanism of action, and I just know that because of practical use. I'm like charting my notes, and I'm just like, supplementing with vitamin D and vitamin C and zinc. And whenever I'm also, part of my job too is doing outpatient nutrition counseling within the community, because I do work in a rural area. Um, and in the Panhandle of Texas, actually, it's really cold right now. So a lot of people are not going outside. And so I ask people, I have not to give too much info because of HIPAA, but I do have a patient that I do see, and a long history of depression, obesity, type 2 diabetes, hyperlipidemia. And part of my nutrition prescription was, if you are unable to go outside for at least 15 minutes to get some sunshine, I need you to take a supplement, D3. So, yes,
Okay.
that was too deep. I'm so sorry.
No, you're good.
Way
And
too
so
deep.
that's what I've become conscious of. It seems like vitamin D, zinc, and vitamin C are kind of like the key micronutrients when it comes to immune system,
Yes.
right? Yeah, and that's
Yeah.
funny because my mom actually bought this kind of supplement from Costco, and it has those three particular vitamins and minerals. And I don't know, I've been taking it like before I go to bed, and I mean, I've obviously, I think there's so many variables that goes into being healthy, but I think it's been having some type of effect. I don't know. So
Someone could be like, oh, you're young, you're active, of course. But with everything going on, I mean, have you had COVID-19?
I haven't, no. Or at least I don't think so.
Right. I mean, but if you did, you didn't have the symptoms, right? It didn't affect you. Let's say that you did have it, and you are in an area where there's a lot of cases, which is
Yeah.
LA, right?
Hmm.
The California with the big cities. It's hot spot for those, and could be.
Yeah. So I want to ask you this question that I pretty much ask. I don't want to say everybody. I haven't done it every single podcast, but this is like the one question that it seems like has become consistent. If you could communicate a message to the entire human race, every single human on the planet, in spite of whatever language they may speak, what would be your message for the human race?
Listen to your own intuition. You know what you need to be happy. You know. Yes, you can get advice from people, you can get tips, you can learn from other people, but ultimately, I feel like when I was a child, I was always like, adults know so much. They do. And I'd have my own opinions, but then an adult or someone older than me would be like, no, that's wrong. But now when I'm an adult, I'm like, I was right all along. I should have listened to my own gut and my own intuition. No one has a right to tell you how to feel. Only you can tell yourself how to feel.
I
That's my
love it.
message to the world.
All right, I'm gonna hit up CN. I'm gonna hit up all the biggest platforms and get them to get that message on TV. No, I'm just kidding, but I am planning to do a podcast where I kind of just get a collective of everybody who's answered that question and put that out. Maybe that might be the next podcast. We'll see. But yeah, if there's any like last topics you'd want to talk about, if not, we'll just wrap it up with that.
Yeah. I'd love to just connect with you professionally in the future. I feel like you are an awesome dude. And yes, I'm in the dietetics profession and stuff like that, but I'm also a human being looking for authentic connections and to ultimately be happy. That's it.
Okay. All right, everybody. Thank you so much for tuning into the podcast. Gabby, thank you so much. We'll end the recording. I'm not gonna end the phone call yet, just so you don't hang up yet. But yeah, thank you everybody for tuning in. Thank you, Gabby.
Awesome.
I'm gonna stop the recording.